look up to them. Why do we give them, honorary titles when they say that if you make me contribute a bit more to Britain, to making Britain, thrive, that I'm going to leave the country. The first thing you do is you take their honorary title off them. That's for a start, because they clearly don't care about Britain, they don't care about their fellow British people if that's what they're willing to do. But those things are nonsense. People live in Britain because they like it. Some of the wealthiest people in the UK, they're not from the UK originally, they moved here because they like living here. It's a great place to raise kids, it's a great place to raise a family, we've got great culture here, and it's a relatively safe country to live in. And all of those things are under threat unless we invest in our public services and infrastructure. So what we're here today, we're on a bus it's pointing out how much money we're missing out on every single day by not having a wealth tax at 460 million a week.
Julia, why do you think that you should be paying more tax?
Because I can, and at the moment we have people that have been struggling for a very, very long time. We absolutely need to be investing more in our public services and infrastructure. We've been saying that for a long time, and things have just become a lot more urgent because, as you know, the world is becoming a more insecure place. So we now have a situation where we have a government that's saying we need to look at how we can invest more in defence and security. Absolutely, yeah, I agree with that. But the answer to that is not cutting other public services and investment, because they've already been cut to the bone, and that's been going on for a very long period of time. And we don't need to do that. The UK is a very wealthy country. There is loads of wealth in the UK. It's just not spread out. So we've been expecting people to just keep on digging deeper and deeper and deeper, and people have been struggling for a very long period of time. It's not necessary. It really isn't. We haven't built the public momentum yet, this understanding. We're not demanding it enough as a nation. So there are a small number of people who are putting out often false stories. So there was a recent false story about the number of millionaires that were leaving the UK. That was based on complete nonsensical interpretation of some data gathered from LinkedIn. It was nonsense. At the moment, the government are listening to a very small number of very powerful people who have a kind of a warped sense of morality. We are all brought up with very simple basic principles, which are just very human principles, which are that you share nicely, you contribute if you're able to contribute, you participate as a member of society. There are a few people who've had those basic moral principles warped, and as they get more wealth, they kind of they become obsessed really with their place in this, high-level pecking order of who's got the most billions and who's got the biggest super yacht, etc. That is not a natural way of being as a human being.
What about those people who say, well, look, you've got this money, and for you can decide where you want to donate it. You can, decide how you want to act as a philanthropist, what causes you want to give to, and that should be each wealthy person's individual choice, and they shouldn't be forced to give money to the government.
Hey, that's a good question to ask me about. So by profession, I'm a lawyer and I work with charities. That was my interest. I can tell you that philanthropy by incredibly wealthy people is not generous. It's not democratic. You see generosity in charitable giving in a single mum who's struggling to put food on the table, who still manages to sponsor her child when she's in a sponsored walk at school, because that's taking money out of the household budget. When you're an incredibly wealthy person, philanthropy is just basically something that's done to basically get away with this obscenely unfair, unjust distribution of wealth. So the best way of trying to explain this to people is to sort of bring it down to what you would think of if a child behaved like this. So I was thinking about Elon Musk the other day, because people were trying to make out that he was a hero in going up and rescuing these astronauts. Well, just so happens that his companies have billion-dollar contracts to the US government, and part of that happens to be providing shuttle services up to the space station. So whilst this man is cutting jobs for people working in education and health and aid, etc., and he's obsessing and saying that these things are awful organisations to support, he, in his companies, is receiving billions of dollars from the US taxpayers. Now, coming back to, I was thinking about Elon when he was a little boy. Imagine if Elon, as a little boy, went into a children's party, where there was loads of kids at this children's party, and he went in and he took the table was laid out with all the food, and he took all of the cakes and he took all of the sandwiches and he took all the crisps and everything, and all he left was, you know, like half a cake and half a sandwich on there. And then someone said to him, "That's not very nice, that little boy over there, you know, he hasn't got any food," and he gave back, you know, a quarter of a sandwich and a couple of cheesy Wotsits. We wouldn't say that was good. We wouldn't say, "Oh, well done, Elon." We'd say, "What is wrong with you, Elon? You know, come on." And that is what philanthropy by these incredibly wealthy people is like. These are false choices. We do not have to choose between defending our country in a world that's become much more insecure, looking after our pensioners, investing in our health services. Those choices do not need to be made if we tax wealth fairly. So we're not talking about anything radical here. Our proposals are, as you know, really basic things like there is absolutely no reason why capital gains should be taxed at a lower rate than income. There is absolutely no reason why there shouldn't be a very moderate rate of tax on wealth above 10 million, because if you have wealth above 10 million, that additional wealth is not paying to look after your family. It is wealth which we have to invest to make more wealth. There are people now for whom it is a pipe dream even to have a bit of savings in the bank to cover those eventualities, like, you know, your car breaks down, or, you know, you're off work for a period of time, or, you know, your child needs a bit of help, you know, when they start university. Sorry, I just want to say, it is not necessary to shut down libraries. It is not necessary to shut down access to public swimming pools, etc. These are the things, you know, these should not be luxuries. So what you have when you have an extreme transfer of wealth is you have some people who have, you know, multiple houses with swimming pools, and you have the shameful situation where kids now don't have what I had when I grew up, which is there was several public swimming pools I could choose from where I went and I learned to swim, and where people could go and they could swim and exercise, you know. And now we are now treating that as if that is a luxury.
How many people, like millionaires, do you think actually agree with you? How many people do you think would be happy to pay more tax?
So we've done polls.
Yeah.
So polls have been done by reputable polling agencies, and they found that, so we polled them specifically on would you support a wealth tax of taxing wealth above £10 million at a rate of 2%.
Yeah.
You check with sort of the other people here on those figures, but I'm pretty sure that was over 75% in favour. So absolutely, way more than
of people who would be paying it.
Yeah, that was of millionaires. Oddly enough, we didn't have so much support from MPs, which just shows you who are they there? Who were they elected to represent? They were elected to represent their constituents. Right now, they are not representing their constituents. In refusing to look at this, they are not acting in the interests of the British people.
Yeah.
Whether you're looking at it from an economic perspective, a business perspective, whether you're looking at it in terms of, you know, just general health and safety, where you care about young people or pensioners, our natural world, they are not acting in our interests at the moment.